Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are having a great start to your morning, great start to your weekend. Got you an update on what's going to happen specifically for today, as we always do. And today's really kind of the beginning of a difficult setup to figure out. Today will be pretty straightforward on figuring out who's going to see the heaviest snow or the most frozen precipitation. So it'll be pretty simple today, but really going forward, it's going to get difficult as we get into early next week, and we'll talk about that in the second half of the video. You know, I haven't been with you guys since yesterday morning, which, you know, really isn't a long time, but I appreciate understanding with the break yesterday evening. It was really nice just coming home and just really just sitting on the couch. Normally, I'm not a big person who just sits on the couch for long periods of time and watches TV. I'm constantly going at it, and in my head there's constantly something ticking telling me there's something productive I can be doing. But yesterday evening was just definitely one of those nights where I just kind of got home from work, got into some comfy clothes, and just relaxed the entire night and just hung out with the family. So you know, back on the normal routine, and there's definitely some things we need to figure out. I want to quickly mention, you know, right now I have the most people who have joined my channel ever. I'm at 24 members, so I appreciate every single one of you guys who have joined my channel. That is especially important when we get into these slower times and when we get into summer, when there's really nothing to talk about in the weather world except heat, humidity, and maybe a chance of some storms. So I really appreciate people who've joined my channel, 24 members. I appreciate every single one of you guys, and thank you all for just you know, committing to my channel. And you know, I don't really have anything wild to offer you guys like merch or anything. You know, I don't do merch on my channel. That's just not really up my alley or anything like that. And just, it's just kind of weird to me to just kind of put Mitch West Weather on a hoodie and try to sell it for $30, $40. And trust me, guys, that's not a knock on anybody who does it at all whatsoever. And I'm sure some people out there would buy it, but I don't know. That's just never really been up my alley. But I appreciate people who have committed to my channel in that kind of way, and it really means the world. But thank you for each and every one of you guys who make these videos a part of your routine, because even I'm not just speaking on the people who have joined my channel, but just people who make my, you know, videos a daily part of the routine. I mean, that means the world. You literally take a piece out of your life daily to spend with me. So I just want to let you guys know how much I appreciate that. So anyways, 2.5 minutes in. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, you guys know the deal. Please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. So sorry I'm coming at you guys a little bit later. That's normally how it is on Saturdays and Sundays. It's really hard to fight that alarm clock. Had it set for 4:30 this morning. Didn't wake up till about 5:30, so it kind of backed everything up an hour. But anyways, here we are. Appreciate people who are tuning in. So we got a piece of energy, a pretty strong clipper system that is going to dump 7 to 10 inches of snow on Milwaukee a little bit later this afternoon. So this might be one of your bigger snowstorms of the winter so far. Chicago is going to see a couple inches of snow, I think, and everybody in between. And it's snowing in portions of Iowa, Sioux Falls this morning, those areas, and just this region right here seeing a good bit of snow. We'll talk about that. And today is really the beginning of a pretty active setup across the south central U.S. and the Ohio Valley. And just a lot of rain on the way. To next week, let me tell you guys, if you got any outside things to do across the south or eastern U.S., I recommend doing it today. And if you got tomorrow, I'd do it tomorrow too, because next week is going to be just a soggy week, especially across the south and southeast. But anyways, watches and warnings, guys. Winter storm warnings up for this region right here where Iowa, South Dakota, and Nebraska kind of meet, where heavy snow is falling this morning. Then you got 4 counties in southeast Wisconsin. This does include the city of Milwaukee. You'll actually have a little bit of an enhancement probably off the lake here. But you have winter storm warnings up. And that's, you know, when you have a winter storm warning up this far north on the lower 48, you know, you must be getting a good bit of snow. You know, 1 to 2 inches will prompt the winter storm warning here in my neck of the woods in Columbia. So, you know, if you got a winter storm warning up here in this part of the country, you know you're going to, at minimum, get several inches of snow. And we'll talk about that here in a second. The HRRR model for the southeast, we'll break that down. It's kind of some showers in eastern Texas, areas of Louisiana this morning. This will move into Arkansas, sections of western Mississippi, western Tennessee a little bit later this afternoon. So the rain showers will move in. And like I said, this is just the beginning of a very active pattern. The rain showers will get as far north as probably southern areas of Illinois, Indiana, Evansville, all the communities up here, western Kentucky, Paducah. All these portions right here will start to get some rain showers a little bit later this evening. This will be all liquid. No frozen precipitation with this yet. That might change as we get into next week. Go through the overnight hours and just a general pattern where this area right here favors some heavy rain along the Mississippi Valley. By the time we get later tonight, the wee hours of the morning, Memphis could have some heavier burst of rain, maybe a rumble of thunder. Nothing really severe expected out of this, but you can't rule it out either. I don't even have the Storm Prediction Center panel pulled up. That's, I felt like we can actually do this on the fly here. Let me see if there's a marginal risk of thunderstorms today or tomorrow, because I don't want to just totally not mention this. And, they're tomorrow across the southeast. This is for tomorrow. There is a marginal risk, but we'll talk about that tomorrow morning. There will be a little bit of a risk for some severe storms across the Gulf Coast, but that's obviously not for today. But rain between now and the next 24 hours, I mean, certain areas could pick up an inch of rain, especially down here where Texas and Louisiana meet. That's where the National Weather Service think the most rain could potentially fall. But, the core of Arkansas could get hit pretty hard by a steady kind of light to moderate rain today. There'll be some breaks in between. A lot of this will really get amplified a little bit later tonight, into overnight tonight, into tomorrow morning. And, ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain, which is a good bit of rain. So the rain continues in this area, and then it will begin to get really heavy. And in fact, there's some chances for some flash flooding. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight as we get a little bit later into the week. But the Northeast today, there's some snow showers flying around the interior Northeast. This will gradually drift into Maine a little bit later this morning if they haven't already. And then we get into about midday, still some snow showers flying around, but generally calm. And then as we get into Michigan a little bit later today, and we'll talk about this more when we get in the north central frame. I don't know what happened there. Some moderate to maybe heavy snow starts to move into central Michigan, and could fall at a pretty good clip here a little bit later tonight into the overnight hours as this system moves through. And then some of the snow will begin to enter the interior Northeast again, where some snow could move into northern New York State, Vermont, and New Hampshire, especially and only really the northern sections of those states I just mentioned. All rain down here again. We got all rain in the quarter of winter. We got rain falling in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Just a crappy pattern for the eastern U.S. It continues, really. The south central U.S., like I said, outside these rain showers that I just mentioned for the southeast, we already kind of mentioned it for these sections right here. Dallas points east, some showers, but really a Dallas-Fort Worth area. Probably won't see much. Oklahoma City, pretty dry today, but, you don't have to go far to your east to start to see some showers. But as you can tell, a little bit of freezing rain showing up with this heavier area of rain on the northern area. Some of the sleet and freezing rain can fall. We'll talk about that here in a second. But most of the south central U.S. will be quiet. But as we're waking up tomorrow morning, kind of a sector of severe weather ingredients will kind of begin to develop along the Gulf Coast. And you could be waking up to some thunderstorms tomorrow morning in the Houston area, all the way up to Shreveport, maybe even areas of southern Arkansas. So we'll watch out for that. We'll talk about that tonight. But right now, we got this area of snow that's moving kind of out of the Dakotas, out of South Dakota, and now Nebraska, and this will take until about midday before it completely moves out. And then kind of the core of this frozen precipitation will begin to move into southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois. It'll probably start snowing in Chicago and Milwaukee, probably around, I would say, 11 a.m., 12 p.m. today, so here in the next few hours. But if you look at what's going on right now, this is some pretty heavy snow falling just south of Sioux Falls and Sioux City, right in the middle of these two cities, towns. You got some pretty moderate to heavy snowfall, and this will continue to make its way literally west to east this way. And then I really think this area right here will get hit pretty good with some heavy snow. But Chicago will get hit by some snow too, but this will continue to move, and it's already snowing in portions of Wisconsin right now, so it's knocking on the door or getting very close to the door of Milwaukee. But we'll continue to move this forward. Listen, some of this snow could fall pretty heavily in areas of Milwaukee and surrounding regions. Even northern Illinois could get some bursts of heavier snow into Chicago. And then the moisture really begins to get amplified as we get into this evening. I'm talking 7, 8, 9 p.m. tonight. And some of the snow could be pretty heavy, come down at a pretty heavy clip here. Chicago, you're going to be just north of that freezing rain line. You go maybe an hour south of town, and I think you'll be dealing with some nasty sleet and freezing rain. And some appreciable freezing rain amounts could fall just south of Chicago into northern sections of Indiana, into north central areas of Illinois. Could really be dealing with some ugly icing issues. I'm not talking about an all-out ice storm by any means, but you could definitely get a solid glaze of freezing rain a little bit later today into the overnight hours. But, this is pretty much a kind of a small-scale snowstorm happening across, southern Wisconsin, maybe sections of northern Illinois. You might call it a snowstorm. And this will eventually overnight move and completely, cover up Michigan. And besides the UP of Michigan, this will be areas to your south of the UP of Michigan, where you guys could be getting, especially the heart of Michigan, right in central Michigan, could certainly be getting some heavier, moderate to heavy snow into the overnight hours. But, it might mix with some sleet, some freezing rain in Chicago into the overnight hours, as this little low pressure kind of brings a warm nose aloft, meaning there's warm air aloft that could prevent snow from making it to the surface and just sleet the freezing rain. But, this is going to pack a good little punch for areas of Milwaukee. And the snow, it's not going to be a long-lasting snowstorm. It'll crank up around midday today, start out kind of slow, and then by the time you get into this evening, it's snowing pretty good. And here's the National Weather Service. Several more inches could potentially, a few more inches could potentially fall in parts of Iowa. But then southern Wisconsin, over a half a foot of snow could fall. Northern areas of Illinois, far northern areas, widespread 2 to 4 inches of snow is possible. They're going for around 2 inches in Chicago, but most of this snow in Michigan will fall overnight tonight. We're right in the middle of Michigan, can get 6 to 7 inches of snow. Detroit, you'll probably be mixing with rain too much, but really just go north of town and several inches of snow could fall. But one thing you'll look at here is winter storm warnings up from Milwaukee. 7 to 9 inches of snow is predicted right up against the Lake Michigan. Sometimes, you struggle up against maybe the Great Lakes just due to a little bit of warm air. But, in this case, it's actually helping to kind of amplify. But even away from Milwaukee, you go west, into Madison, 4 to 7 inches of snow. I know that's nothing substantial for you guys standards up here, I know. But, 7 to 9 inches of snow in Milwaukee falling at a pretty fast clip. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it says this is the National Weather Service in Milwaukee. It says lake enhanced snow for Lake County. So the lake enhancement is going to really make it heavier and more enhanced. So it says snow rates are possible between a half an inch to an inch per hour for a period of time. So it's gonna fall pretty quickly in this area. And then you got a freezing rain issue just south of Chicago, where I think maybe 5/100ths of an inch to maybe as high as maybe 15th of an inch, a 20th of an inch potentially in some areas. Let's hope it doesn't get that high. But, once you start to get above a 1/10 of an inch of ice, you really start to see a glaze in certain areas. So definitely be aware of that. But a little bit of ice today, certainly possible. As far as temperatures, I want to show you this really quick. You see this boundary? That's the boundary we've been talking about over the last several evening videos. That's going to set up and slowly make its way kind of south. But what's wild today is these are high temperatures. Well, the warmest time of the day, high temperatures. It's going to be plenty cold enough for winter weather from north central Illinois points north. So even though you're mixing kind of with sleet and freezing rain, it's going to be falling at below freezing temperatures. So everything's going to freeze. But you don't have to go very far south. You get into central Illinois, you start to rise into the 50s. So there's going to be a tight gradient today that really sets up. It's wild. If you look at areas like Omaha, you're not going to get out the teens for highs. But you go down here to Kansas City, you're getting into the 50s. You might flirt with 60 degrees. So there's going to be an incredible gradient, an Arctic boundary that's going to set across this portion of the country. Columbia, Missouri, 50s to near 60. You go to some far northern counties in Missouri, you're only going to be in the 30s and 20s. So, the South today, pretty warm, but, not really warm, but definitely several degrees, probably above average for certain areas, especially in the Ohio Valley. If you got any snow left on the ground in the Ohio Valley, which I doubt you have much, it's going to melt very quick today. And then you watch next week. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to switch gears. We kind of already talked about that. I don't even know why I had this pulled up. But this just definitely shows that Arctic boundary that's going to set up today right here and eventually move south. But what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at a couple model guys. Because, listen, I'm going to tell you, it's tough trying to figure out what's going to happen next week. And the latest 12Z is running. In fact, let's see if it's ran far. Nah, it really hasn't. Nope. So we're going to have to stick with the 06Z, which kind of stinks because this is a little bit old model guidance, but it still shows the general idea. I don't think it's going to switch much. But so we're leaving the storm. Okay, this heads on out as we get into Sunday morning, and we're kind of focusing in on Missouri, Illinois, and surrounding sections of each state. As this first little plume of moisture moves through, we're getting into Sunday morning. You're already seeing some patchy, freezing drizzle off the latest HRRR model starting to show up. So what's wild is if you're in Missouri, you know, Columbia, Missouri, point south might get into the 50s and 60s a day. Okay, by the time we get into this time tomorrow morning, you could be dealing with some freezing drizzle, light freezing rain. And here it is. You see these areas of pink? That is freezing rain, okay? Just some drizzle at first, but as we're getting to about midday, this boundary continues to sag south. I mean, look down here. You got thunderstorms down here in Arkansas. But, you know, St. Louis, some freezing drizzle trying to flirt with the forecast right here on Sunday morning. And then some more moisture. Most of the moisture's down here, but some more moisture tries to get a little bit further south. Normally compared to what we actually see and what these models show, we normally have more moisture north than what models try to show. So that's worrisome because there's a lot. This is what we call warm air advection. So normally with overrunning events, you have a lot of that. Warm air advection, meaning there's a lot of warm air aloft. So you have overrunning, which means you got moisture overrunning cold air. So it's cold air at the surface, but still up top, you got warm air. So a lot of times you've got a lot of ice, and that is going to be the story starting tomorrow. So we're getting into about tomorrow evening. The latest HRRR model, which is another one coming out right now, has some freezing drizzle around St. Louis. Pretty much all of Missouri except maybe far northern Missouri, but you know, this might be changing. And then as we're getting into late tomorrow evening, getting into the middle of the night tomorrow, widespread freezing, light freezing rain, maybe even a little bit of snow. The further north you get above that boundary, the more cold air aloft there is, the more you start to mix with sleet and you get more snow. But if I stop it, you know, right here, you got freezing rain still falling, not at a heavy clip, but light freezing rain falling in St. Louis. Central Illinois, freezing rain falling. You know, and I switch it to, let's see if we can go to Indiana and show the Ohio Valley. And I switch it to this frame, and, you know, this is the last frame of the latest HRRR model, and you got snow. It's snowing. And some of these could be pockets of heavier snow or sleet right in the middle of the night. This is literally about midnight tomorrow night into midnight tomorrow night. Not tonight, but tomorrow night. So this is around 12 a.m. Monday morning. And listen, I mean, we got widespread frozen precipitation. And the thing is I don't know what your local forecasts are saying. This is a very tricky event, guys. Very. So don't look at this and say, oh, man, we're going to have a ton of ice. We got to look at what these model guides show today. Today is a big day of model guides, especially for the short range and beginning stages of this system. We're going to have a ton of moisture to the south, and how much does that moisture get above or around that Arctic boundary means the world. You know, it shows Indianapolis flirting with freezing rain tomorrow night, and a little bit of frozen precipitation entering western areas of Ohio. So it's a tough one, guys. It really is. And, you know, you look at the Euro, the latest 06Z Euro, and here comes that first system. This moves through. We already know about that. And then, like I said, you know, the Euro kind of shows a similar picture, except the Euro is a little bit colder. It just shows light snow in St. Louis as opposed to ice, and some icing a little bit further south into Illinois and Indiana, even a little bit showing up in Ohio. And just shows, as we're waking up Monday morning, an area of frozen precipitation. This is within 48 hours, guys. It's pretty wild. And this moves through, potentially gets a little bit heavier in Ohio as maybe the form of just a wintry mix in central Ohio points north. That moves through, could bring some snow for the northeast, and we'll show everybody tonight, guys, so stay tuned. And then, you know, we'll switch gears and look at the central U.S., and all of a sudden, this is the next little area you watch. As we get into Tuesday or Monday afternoon, evening, you have an area of freezing rain and sleet and snow that begins to develop in parts of Texas, Oklahoma, around the Ozarks of Arkansas. Freezing rain showing up, just a boundary that continues to sag south. Still freezing drizzle and rain in areas of Oklahoma. You're waking up Tuesday morning and you got an all-out freezing rain event. Not quite to Dallas, but this is up to Oklahoma City. Close to Amarillo, Lubbock, a lot of freezing rain. Freezing rain showing up from northwest Tennessee, western Kentucky, southeast Missouri, northeast areas of Arkansas, and you keep this rolling here. And the thing is you got to keep flipping back and forth because, it's everywhere. But freezing rain. This turns into an all-out ice storm if the Euro is correct for Tuesday about midday, the last day of January. This coming Tuesday, all-out ice storm just northwest of Dallas, moving into areas of Oklahoma, southern Oklahoma. And then the same areas that got heavy snow in Texas a few days ago, all of a sudden get an ice storm the last day of January. And this looks intense, and if we keep the same time frame and we look back east, and this is what it's showing, and we only got a couple more frames, and this is the final frame, a little bit of snow, light snow in Washington, D.C. Tuesday evening. It's a very tough forecast. I'm not going to kind of sugarcoat anything. I'm confused at what's going to happen. I just know that there's going to be an Arctic boundary that's going to be oozing south. There's going to be a lot of moisture that's going to be well south of the boundary, but how much moisture makes it north of the boundary? It's a big question here. It really is. Because high pressure influences how much pool of moisture gets north. Okay, so, I would watch out if you're in this area of Texas, from Amarillo to Lubbock, to Wichita Falls, to Oklahoma City, to Tulsa, to the Ozarks of Arkansas, southern Missouri, for an ice storm. I don't know if it's going to be an all-out ice storm where you get over a quarter inch of ice, but there's a pretty solid signal for icing here, and it's been here for the last several days, to be honest. Latest national blend of all models, and I don't know why we ain't got no movement here. Here we go. Still shows a pretty potent sign of ice into this area right here of Texas, into areas of Oklahoma, Arkansas, even all the way down to Memphis. Okay, we get into the Ohio Valley. I'm not even going to show the snow, guys, because there's not much. This looks like a decent bit of ice, but you got, a pretty solid signal of ice in the Mississippi Valley, portions of the Ohio Valley, Kentucky, western Tennessee, and even a signal right here that we need to watch a little bit later in the week. But it's a tough one, guys. It really is, trying to figure this out. We can look at the NAM too. The NAM, this is the system that's going to go on, this weekend that we already talked about. This could bring snow for Maine, and I'm not leaving you guys out in Maine too. I'm going to give you an update on this snow that could bring you folks some snow a little bit later this weekend into Monday. But with the NAM, you show same kind of deal, the HRRR model. You show frozen precipitation. It's just very light, and I don't know what's up with all this, but we'll see. It's very light. This is all rain for the southeast, and we'll give you an update on that tonight too. But just light frozen precipitation across Iowa, Missouri, Illinois. There's tons of cold air. It's going to be plenty cold enough, and just how much moisture gets north of that boundary, along that boundary. And you can already see sleet beginning to develop in Oklahoma as we're getting into about midday Monday. So it's a confusing setup, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. This is going to be something that we're going to learn with each passing hour. So, if we kind of look at the latest HRRR model, and this goes all the way out to 30 hours out, and same kind of deal, at the very last frame, as we're getting into midday tomorrow, you show some freezing rain developing in areas of Missouri. So tough one. Missouri, it might not be in your forecast. I'm not sure what is in your forecast. Okay, I'm really not, but do not be surprised in parts of Missouri if you're waking up tomorrow morning. We'll give you an upgrade on it tonight. If you're waking up tomorrow morning with, today you're rising into the 60s. If you're in Missouri, I know I keep saying Missouri, parts of Illinois, Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, I can't reiterate this enough. Get what you got to do done today, because you might get a little bit icy starting tomorrow. So, and it's definitely going to get colder. I tell you that, especially in Missouri and Illinois. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Have yourselves a great beginning of your weekend.